All right. And we'll give it a minute to catch up. If you're watching the replay, welcome to our Clean Sweep live show.
Hey, I'm so
I nearly
excited.
said the wrong book title.
I keep wanting to call it Sweep in Peace, which is book 2.
Yes, it's book 2.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call it that. So
I've got that
there
handy.
you go.
Oh, I want to start that so bad because I haven't read these yet, and the first one was so good.
Yeah.
I've only read book 1, so everything else is
Okay.
fresh.
All right. So I know Heather and I have. Heather, you've read all the other books except for the most recent one, haven't you?
I've read the first 3, so I didn't
read
read
the
the first book and the new one. Will be new to me.
Yeah. Okay. I've read all of them except the most recent one. So
Okay.
it's Megan's first time, and Izzy has reread the first one. But
Hello,
we'll be
I'm so
reading it this
excited
first
though.
time.
It's exactly
Hello.
the motivation.
So I was thinking about this. The series that Ilona Andrews that they write, they're all so different that they're almost good entry points for anyone who wants to try their writing, because there's some, if you don't like one, you'll probably like one of the others.
Yeah.
Guess who was asking me today where to start with Ilona Andrews?
Oh, who was asking
Go
you?
ahead and guess. It was Robin. She was like, I
good.
don't know where to start. And I was like, well, I have
Well,
to.
She will. I think she'd like most of them.
Oh, I think she'd like it too.
we're currently doing live shows for
Yeah, I know. She's starting in February, so
that's cool. And yeah, they like this series. Like, I think all their series are funny, but this is like the humor in this one is pretty good.
it is. While I'm thinking of it, because I just thought of it and realized I never did this. Mara mentioned on her podcast that there's a prequel, I think, on the website about the parents. Has anybody read that?
No.
It's like the parents meeting and stuff. I want to write myself a note to read that.
Yeah, I do need to read that. So somebody remind me. Yeah. Okay, Heather, when you read it, message us and go, I read it. And I will be like,
and we'll be like, oh yeah, we should do that.
I think it's interesting because, like, I've not finished Kate Daniels, and that's on my list this year. And, like, obviously getting caught up on this because of the read-along, which is, like, perfect. But I think it's interesting because this one I was like, oh, this is, like, I could recommend this to, like, people who like cozy fantasies but want more.
Yeah.
Little more to it than the cozy fantasy.
Right.
People who really like paranormals and want to get into fantasy or sci-fi would also be good.
Yeah, like, it's weird how much of a mashup of genre.
I was going to say, it's a great crossover book.
I was going to say, it's the quintessential SFF novel, because it's the blend of all of that without it being too much of one or too much of the other.
Right.
Cozy SFF.
Obviously, that's true more of this book with the sci-fi elements. But I was thinking about it on my drive today and stuff, and I was just thinking about how they really I know we rave about them constantly, but it's just such a balance. Like, so many times either like they're really good at the world building, but they're not as good at romance, or they're a great romance author, but the world building and all that suffers a little bit because the romance is their strength, right? And it's just so equally good, no matter which part of it you're kind of there for.
Yeah, I agree. That's like one of the best parts about Ilona Andrews' books. Even though they're slower burn romances, I'm still like getting enough each book from the couple.
Right. Yeah. Like, literally they kiss once at the end of this book, and I'm like, I'm not mad about it. I'm perfectly happy.
Yeah.
Would someone like to explain the premise of the book, since it's the first one in the series that we're doing a live show for?
So the book is about Dina, who is an innkeeper, i.e. she has a bed and breakfast essentially in small town Texas. And her bed and breakfast is actually like a weird dimensional pit stop between like all the worlds, which is really cool. And so she has magic tied to her house. She does this because she wants to find her parents who mysteriously disappeared and hopes that by becoming a grand innkeeper, she will eventually find a person who stops at her inn that has answers for her about her family. And then there's a werewolf that lives in her town
And is peeing on trees.
and is peeing on trees. And
I want more of that in my paranormals, just
That was
werewolves
hilarious.
randomly like marking territories. That
Right.
was
there's also
so
alien
funny.
vampires who get
Yeah.
drunk on caffeine, which is great.
Yes.
And all three of these people team up to try to defeat a baddie who is killing dogs and in their home, and they're scared that they're going to start killing people. Oh no, they did kill people. They killed a person and a lot of cows, and so they're trying to stop this guy and his pets. For lack of a better term.
Nicely done.
Real good.
Thank you.
They killed some cows too.
That's why I said, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They had cows and a dude.
Yeah. Okay, I was like, wait, yeah, there were cows and a dude. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Cat is distracting. Very distracting cat right now.
And don't forget the tiny little dog that's not a dog.
Oh,
And-
East! East is the best.
and the permanent B&B resident.
I
Oh,
completely forgot that. he
Your
transferred.
Grace. Is it Lady Cordelia?
Kel-
is that her name?
Mm-hmm. I
Caldenia.
love her.
Also, this book is different from all the others because there's character art. There's portraits of everyone, which
Oh,
is
is
I
there?
listened to it, so I didn't know this.
really nice addition.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know
because that's in
this.
the ebook too. You get the
Okay.
artwork.
I'll have to flip through
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
If you do a Google search for Innkeeper, they usually pop up in the Google image search as
Okay.
well, so you get them in color.
There's ones
That's cool.
for Dina, Sean, Cordelia. Yeah.
Harland has one. in this
Yeah.
one.
Does his uncle have one or is it just him? It's just
No,
them, right?
just Harland.
Like
Hang on.
4 main.
Yeah. I think there's 3 in this
Maybe
one.
their parents, her parents or something. I feel like there might be some additional one I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Harland. He's the vampire. And Sean's in here as well.
I love that. Like that they did that.
Yeah.
This way.
Look at that all-American boy.
Yeah.
And
This one's
yeah,
really interesting because not only is the inn kind of a crossroads for other worlds, but all of Earth is. Like they really in Kate Daniels and Hidden Legacy, they'll like summon things from places they don't know where it's at, right? But this is like, no, there's other worlds. You can go to the other worlds in our universe, if you will.
Yeah, I liked that Earth was like the stopover point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I found that interesting.
neutral territory.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that they made the alpha strain werewolves or whatever the extra special werewolves with I think they said it was like the Osiris virus. Like it sounded really similar to the Osiris serum from Hidden Legacy.
That's
It did.
okay.
I thought that was interesting.
That is.
And this came first. So that means
Yeah.
I think also knowing like this was serialized originally in their newsletter, if I remember right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reading it now, like I can see that part of it, I guess, as I read each chapter, because I felt like each chapter had like kind of an end that was like not too much of a cliffhanger
Yeah.
situation. Like I wasn't like, oh my god, I cannot stop, like till about the end ish.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Like you could see that the roots of it, but it didn't feel like
Yeah.
this is a weird thing that was released like once a month or every week or whatever it was.
Well, I listened to Changeling Cast, which is Mara's podcast, over the last couple of days, and she said all of the books in the series are serialized and on their website. And then
Okay.
once they finish it, they do like a huge edit, and then that gets released as the ebook. So you can actually read it. Hello, Pete. You can actually read it, ahead of release
Yeah.
if you want to read it in that way, which is a cool option.
It
That's
is.
Told you all she was being naughty.
She wants attention.
I also love
She
that
does.
the
She's-
vampire was like, in human media, the vampire always wins against the werewolf, and I cracked up.
That was
Yeah,
so
me too.
funny. That was like the perfect random Twilight, another thing joke.
Yes.
But my
But even
mind
just-
always goes to Twilight with that one.
Yes.
But even just the posturing between Sean and Arlen was just hilarious the whole time.
Mhm.
And Dina's
So
just
good.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah. They're hilarious. I love that entire love triangle because it's very clear that no one's going to get their heart broken. It's very clear who's
Mhm.
going to end up together and who's not, but it just makes for such an entertaining
good
little
banter.
competition.
Yes.
And the person who doesn't get the relationship gets their own book. So
Oh, okay.
Oh, you guys didn't know that?
No.
I knew that. I haven't read it,
Yeah.
but
you haven't
Oh,
met the
I
other
haven't
character.
looked at all. Like, I saw that book
It's
3's
set
her
up.
sister.
yeah, it's set up in the next couple of books. Like it's
Yeah.
it's clear where it's gonna go. It's not.
I don't feel like Ilona
It's
Andrews would do an actual love triangle, if that makes sense. I feel like
No.
they're pretty like, we're
I
just
don't
gonna
think
put this
so.
here for the banter and like the dialogue because it's fun, but it's not actually.
Yeah, they always have a little bit of that person's making eyes at your girl. Maybe you should.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that's it. Like that's all they ever
Yeah,
do
it's the
with it.
best.
And oftentimes, either the other person becomes a prominent side character that you like for other reasons, or you end up hating them or whatever. Like
A
it
villain.
it never is. It never is truly a love
Yeah.
triangle.
Which is good.
And actually, now that I'm saying that, they do that in like every single series, and they do
Yep.
that a lot. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil things, but I can name several characters right now that were
Yeah.
like potential love
Yeah.
interests that were not.
Well, I mean, even in Legacy,
Mm-hmm.
and from what I've read, like the first 4 or 5 of Kate, like,
Mhm.
Right. It
yeah,
happens with Nevada. It happens with Catalina. It happens with
Mhm.
Kate. It happens with the current villain and Kate. Like it happens quite a bit with quite a few characters, and yet
Yeah.
like I don't know, it never annoys me because
No.
they don't push it too far for me.
Agreed.
They just balance it out really well.
Mm-hmm.
I am going back to Sean marking his territory and trying to push his luck initially with Dina in the inn.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
entire sequence where she finally shows off just how much power she has
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like, and he also shows off how strong he is as an Alpha Strain werewolf. But the whole thing is just so funny,
It is.
even on reread.
I love that she
I
had to
love-
comfort the house because he
Yeah.
broke free. She's like, "It's okay, house. It's okay."
Yeah. I love her, like, whenever she gets to, like, kind of show off her power a little, because I just think it's such a weird idea, the magic system here.
Mhm.
And, like, in a fun way, like, it's so different and unique from everything else I've read
Right.
that I feel like, it just, I don't know, it's so fun when she's just like,
Yeah.
get out of the house and, like, just throws him out.
Right. I agree.
And just, like, terrifies people every time.
And
even when
with him also, you see how someone who just doesn't know what she is just very confused about
Yeah.
what's happening here.
Like when he takes the broom off her and he thinks that that's it.
He's like, "Haha, I have your magical staff."
You don't have your wand now. What are you going to do?
Yeah. But also,
Oh yeah, that
like,
was awesome. I love that scene.
Yeah. This is a good scene.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was so methodical with it too. He was like, okay, it doesn't work here, but it does work here, but it doesn't work with this, but it does, he was really trying to figure out what the deal was and how to neutralize
You
her.
really, okay.
Totally.
If I vanish, we know why. She really said, let me just sit. Please don't.
I loved that when he was like, "This isn't really an inn."
Yeah.
He thinks she's just like, "This is my job. My job is innkeeper," not like.
Right.
this is,
He's
like,
like, you have
who I am.
one old lady that lives with you, and it's like the weirdest bed and breakfast I've ever seen.
Just stop.
Yeah,
Everyone sees you.
Clean sweep.
He's loved clean sweep, as we can tell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can we go to where they reference her parents and about how her dad was born before cars and was absolutely terrified of driving. And
Yeah.
just
I love that.
grasping on. And also, it was interesting because it said her dad used to be a guest and risked his life for an innkeeper and was incarcerated for centuries, which makes it, and then like obviously became an innkeeper. So, Steph, do you know, was her mom already an innkeeper, or were they just like gifted being an innkeeper out of gratitude?
The way that I've always read it is that they were gifted it because they had shown that they were willing to stand up and protect the magic of the innkeepers, and they protected an innkeeper's family, which wasn't their responsibility to do because guests are not required to do that.
Right. But they
So I
weren't
was-
together at that point, right? Wasn't it just her dad that did that?
See, I thought he protected her. I thought she was an innkeeper.
Oh, maybe she
Wasn't.
was.
Or you think it's the mom that he protected?
Yeah.
Hang on.
I don't know. Curious if the chat has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I
but
don't know. I want to know
okay.
more. Like I
So-
was at that stage.
So it was that his father put his life in jeopardy for the sake of an innkeeper's wife and children. And so, all the innkeepers owed him a debt of gratitude, and his mother selflessly saved him from the eternity of imprisonment.
okay.
So
she
his
rescued
mother's got to be somehow involved, but it doesn't say that she's specifically related to the family.
Right.
Just that she saved him from imprisonment.
Right. But it also said that he was incarcerated for centuries. So she must have rescued him, after he had been
Yeah.
That's my
adopted
guess.
hundreds of years.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I'm so like tantalized by her parents. Like I don't have the full picture, and I really just want to know.
Well, I think that's what makes it more interesting is we don't know, and we like
Got to go and
we're
read
kind
that
of left
prequel.
wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember how much more we get in the other books because it's been ages since I read them. We've got to read them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I read these about 4 years ago or 3 years ago, somewhere in there. And I didn't.
I'm gonna assume that they were not actually normal humans.
Yeah.
Right. They couldn't have been. They had to have been. They had to
something because to stay at the end, you wouldn't be a normal human to protect an innkeeper's family.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's got to be something with the innkeepers that once they become an innkeeper and they're connected to their inn, that there's also something. There's probably some magic involved.
You definitely
like
have a longer lifespan and stuff because of the symbiotic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of regardless of your supernatural status to start.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they were completely human to start with. If I were going to guess, I would.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but I can't remember.
Yeah, Mandy, I agree that that's a possibility. It's just not what my guess would be. Like, I think if you're in a supernatural prison, then it makes sense that maybe time is different or, whatever.
Yeah. And to be honest, my assumption was that her mum wasn't as old as
right.
Yeah.
her dad.
I'm just assuming that because one, she has hope that they're possibly still alive in somewhere.
Right.
Or two, that enough somebody knows them that they would have been not completely human in some way and traveling the interconnected worlds.
Yeah.
Well,
situation.
And they were so well known and their inn was so well respected.
Mm-hmm.
But their inn went with them, right? So they're still with their inn wherever they are.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping there's something to do with that. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that because I don't know whether that counts as a spoiler or not. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
And I felt like that fit in with their other magical world as well, because Kate Daniels, you know, you have the shift, and some people, you know, had all their magical manifestations happen and some didn't, and then some, like their son did, even though they thought they didn't have any, you know, things like that. And then with Hidden Legacy, again, same thing, like you get the serum and some of you manifest and some of you don't. So I think that's like a kind of, they use it in different ways, but it's a common thread throughout their series.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, the mom could be like half magic, half not, or half whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
Too. Like, that's a very real possibility. Not have my cup.
What's the other thing that I was going to say?
Oh, I heard a meow.
No.
She's fussy.
I was going to say, like, I like that in this one we see her start to build connections with another innkeeper after thinking that she is sort of on her own in trying to bring back this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Gertrude Hunt is just an old inn that she brought back to life.
Right.
And even just learning about the inner workings of how the inn creates all the spaces within itself as well. And that idea of it can't create something from nothing. So anything that you bring in, anything you bring in eventually incorporates itself into the structure. Like when she was redoing the kitchen and the materials that she brought in for that, like the whole thinking behind that and the way that that part of the world was built up was really interesting. And also Sean trying to figure out where his bedroom sat in terms of the house, because he's studied the house and he can't work out where his bedroom actually is.
I love when
him buying the supplies for the patio.
Yeah, him doing the porch, and she was just like shifting the porch just enough.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, her loneliness is like so sad.
Right. It is.
Yeah. I do like this.
Right.
Yeah, I do love the twist of like, it's not just like another paranormal. Like, no, they're basically aliens. Like,
it's like a sci-fi version of it. It's like these are the sci-fi werewolves and vampires.
And even when Sean is talking to Arland about, you know, where have all these myths come from? Like, what about holy water? Yeah, no, we
I love
but then it tested it. No.
Yeah.
Of the myths. That was so fun.
And particularly the religious icons discussion as well, because they're a religious group. They have their own religion, but they can't attack anyone who could potentially be praying. And so they never know if someone's holding up a cross, if they're praying. They're warding them off.
Yeah, that was very clever.
And I loved the like imagery of them like being teen vampires. Like, no, you touch the holy water. No, you do it. No, you do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that is so accurate.
Yeah. I also love, because we haven't really gone into the whole stalker situation or any of that, but back at the very beginning, I love when she like addresses Sean and she's like, you know, you do something or I'm going to do something. And he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep. I love that he called his parents.
Well, no, that was later. I'm talking about like the very beginning. But yeah, he did call his parents. And that was funny. But just the way he was trying to, like, he was going to take care of it. He was never going to just sit there.
By peeing.
He was very much trying to pretend like it was not him that was going to take care of it.
Yeah.
Also, the stalkers are creepy.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They were very creepy.
And
I'd forgotten how she got rid of all of them at the end. And as I was remembering the first time I reread it, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that too.
Like, it's great, but it's also entirely
Terrifying.
disturbing with
Mhm.
spiders. I'm like, no, thank you.
I also really like how when she kills the first stalker, as soon as she gets it onto the inn grounds, that's really when we got to see the inn start doing things.
And even just the fact that she had to do like the identification completely old school with out of date things.
Right.
And
Yeah.
she's just methodical. She's like, no, I have to do this and I have to work through it.
The Costco
Yeah.
scene was
Yes.
possibly my favorite moment.
I'm sorry. When the lady was like, "Don't mess with Texas," I was like, I could completely see a random stranger
Right.
in Costco
Listen,
saying
Right.
that.
and again, I feel like you'll get me when I say this. That is like the one state I feel like that would go down, and it would just be like, yeah, okay.
I also just feel so bad for her because she was so helpful that it's like, there's nothing
know.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, poor lady.
I love you, random lady in Texas Costco.
Actually,
I
on
was
the
out
graphic audio,
shopping
that
during
was-
that part, so it was like
Yeah.
perfect too. I was like, I was in Target, and I was like, oh gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
The graphic audio, man.
I did not do the graphic audio yet. I'm gonna reread it with the graphic audio later.
So I did both, like literally back to back, because I wanted to see the difference.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I did physical reread and then the graphic audio, and it was so good.
It was good.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
think I was saying I was filming my wrap up today, and I'm like, look, maybe the music is a little bit kitsch in places, but it worked in this case, and I just thought it worked.
Good, because
So-
I am not spending Audible credits on the rest of the series, and I plan to just switch to graphic audio. So
I think I
Okay.
spent a bunch of money on the series when I heard we
Yeah,
were
I
doing this, because they had that summer sale or whatever.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or sale, whatever sale they had when we were like, we're doing this. I just bought all of them.
I've just been getting them from my library. That's the nice thing about. I have to buy the new releases, obviously, because we do the live shows right away. But for the rest of these, I can usually just get it from the library.
Which is
I do
nice.
have to say though, with the Costco scene, I'm like, where is everyone else?
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Costco's never
also-
that dead.
I
Well, she
know.
said it was early in the morning.
Yeah, it was early in
never
the
that
morning in a weekday. Also,
I'm telling you, as someone who goes on a weekday early in the morning, it is never that dead.
I think it depends on where you are, because I who have lived in semi-small town Texas, I have seen
Yeah.
it that dead.
yeah.
I have, like, after the holidays, yes. Also, like, because everybody's broke, but for the most part, there's definitely more than one other person in the Costco. I have occasionally
Well, I also thought it
had a
was
morning like
hilarious
that.
because she was like, the Costco lady was like, "There's little children and old people in the store. I'm not running," and like that was her reason to fight the stalker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am a perfectly capable adult. I will be part of this fight.
I am quite happy to throw cans and bottles of things out.
That was so great.
Freaking
And then
monsters.
also when Dina just like could not make it and like Sean came and got her.
Yes.
That was such a good moment, too.
These are the
That's
things
good
I live
caretaking.
for.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so good. Especially when he's like all panicky and everything. Like, yes, give me that.
Yep.
And also, like, I think, like, we know the connection between Dina and the inn, but when she gets back onto the inn grounds after that, and seeing exactly how important the relationship between the innkeeper and the inn is.
Yeah.
Right.
It was so good.
It was really good.
And even when she does the road trip down to the other inn, and the house goes on lockdown, and all of those sorts, like, they're little things that you wouldn't necessarily think would make a big difference in terms of understanding the story as a whole and the setup, but they're huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
But yes, that's where Ilona Andrews does. It's all the little details that they put in that never seem to overpower it, but
Right.
set it apart from other series where you have to sort of rely on an assumption about the world building.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next
Just like
couple-
I have all the spoilers.
Well,
like that.
I can't remember that. Like, there's things that I remember from later in the series, but I can't remember what order they happen in.
Yeah,
And
I could see that.
like, part of like what I want to say, you know, as more people come to the inn, it does change, and sort of what happens at the inn also changes, and then you see how it because the thing that I liked is she's starting to take that advice of being a highly specialized inn.
Right. Yeah, that's the goal at the end of this book,
Yeah.
is to try and take difficult guests and difficult assignments, basically, and be like, this is the place to do it.
Has anyone read the... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do like that the innkeeper who suggested that was like, yeah, this guy did it. Oh, can I talk to him? Nah, he was murdered, or he was killed in like an accident.
He was killed by a guest pretty quickly, actually, but it was a good idea.
Like, really? You want me to do the same thing the guy that died?
Yeah, that was funny. That was pretty good.
Yeah, go ahead, Izzy. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was trying to pull it up. Has anyone tried the comic adaptation that they're doing of it as well yet, or no?
I didn't even know they were doing one.
It's like a webtoon type thing, but like a different app, correct?
Yeah, it's Tapas is the app.
I'm not a huge fan of Tapas, but I might try it.
I don't love their app either. But I was just wondering, because I was like, oh yeah, I need to check that out. And I just thought of it, so.
Yeah.
All I remember is there are some very funny characters, and just the description of some of the alien species that come through the inn.
Yeah, I think literally the only other thing I remember about this series is that her sister is in it.
Yeah, I know her. The later
book.
Yeah.
One of the later books is about her sister, so.
Yeah, the fourth one.
Yeah, because I remember looking at the cover and being like, wait a minute.
Yeah. No,
That's
her sister shows up,
which I really loved.
Is that right? Or
Sorry?
does she show up in the third book? Does her sister show up in the next book or the third book? Because I know I've met her sister, and I've only read the first 3.
I have not met her.
I think I could be wrong. I think it might be the third book, because then it jumps to Maud's book after that.
Okay.
That would make sense.
Right.
But that's...
When I read them, her book wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
You know, I don't think Maud is in Sweet and Peace, so it must be the third one.
Right. So it's interesting how all of their problems actually end up stemming from vampire politics and a coup, basically, and trying to dismantle this alliance, and how then, of course, the vampires show up and they're just like, we'll deal with it. Like, you don't need to know anything. And then they keep rescuing them. And they're like, you have to tell us details or I'm going to leave you on this planet.
Yeah.
Speaking of vampires turning up, them turning up, what was it, in cloaks or something?
Oh my gosh, trench coats.
Trench coats.
Trench coat.
They're feeling Matrix, you know.
And the black SUVs.
But with still like full armor on underneath, so they said it looked like a bunch of like linebackers in trench coats.
Yeah.
In the middle of Texas summer.
Yeah. But like, even just the politics of how you converse with the different races, and just how knowledgeable Dina is and how she navigates all of those.
Yeah. And how she and the Uncle Vampire like take a walk with like her on the inn property and him on the outside, you know.
Yeah.
Having their polite discussion where it's like,
yes,
I don't know if you're doing what you think you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so good. In that way, I feel like Dina really has a much more quiet personality than Nevada or Kate. I think she's kind of a little bit like Catalina in that way, but we see Catalina, you know, being forced into the limelight. But she's really quiet. But she is like Kate in that way, in that it's just like their obscure knowledge of all the things is just so impressive. And, like, obviously they're written that way, but me as the reader, I'm just always like, wow, you know so much.
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah,
cute.
that was such a good, like,
He hit on her. He ran around naked. Got a hang.
Did I mention my cousin's wife?
She's human. Let's not mention your cousin's wife.
I've heard the anatomy. It's very similar. That was really funny. Especially when he was like mortified that he brought it up because like it was in his thoughts, but he was like, no,
poor
can't
guy.
say.
And then he stripped down and started running through the orchard.
And also that Sean did it so innocently. Like he definitely would have messed with him, but wasn't doing it on purpose.
He didn't even know vampires existed before then. He was just like, yeah, dude, like you look like you could use some coffee. I'm getting some coffee.
I can't imagine being a werewolf and being like, yeah, we're the only thing.
Yeah.
Like my first thought would be like, there's other things. What are the other things?
Right.
But I think that comes down to how he was raised and the fact that his parents were in hiding.
Yeah,
so he had very limited knowledge on what he was as well.
That is true.
That other werewolf who was like, oh my god, y'all did it. Like they lived. And he was like really happy about it.
Yeah, and how like Sean's instincts with him and the armor and everything. He was just like, look, I know, Dina, you're saying this is a bad idea, but I'm telling you, like, it's calling to me at a level that I can't explain to you or can't deny. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I do love that Sean made fun of the dog for being a Shih Tzu, just being like, I wouldn't call that a dog. And then Beast transformed. And he's just like, I still wouldn't call that a dog, but for a completely different reason.
Right.
He's like, it's not a dog still, but
I love Beast.
Beast is great.
Yes. Also, what's her name? Caldania needing Funyuns and mellow yellow to be happy.
But also her just very innocent.
Go ahead, Steph.
Just when she just casually brings up the fact that she's killed plenty of people, and
I love that about her.
This is the best way to
this is the
best way to boil a body.
She's like the worst genocidal dictator, and yet somehow you like her as a character.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, I know you're an awful person. Like,
I just feel like more paranormal should not be shocked by the existence of other paranormals. I'm just saying this is it's just wrong. We need to stop this trend.
I agree. Yeah, that's kind of like my feelings on paranormal romance, where it's like the big conflict is that the human didn't know paranormals exist and they're like struggling to accept that they're a mate and stuff. I'm like, we picked up the book knowing it was a paranormal romance. The least you can do is have that not be like the thing that we're arguing about the whole way through the book.
And I feel like
listen,
is appropriate.
I truly hope it's not a thing because of the fact that like we know humans are just trying to have sex with them. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as they consent, it's fine. But I do feel like if given the chance, like that's how that would turn out. So
you have to assume.
I can't assume anything else now. Like I'm like, why would I be surprised if this happens?
Yeah.
This is true.
I agree. What else?
Should we talk about Baha? Is that the market?
Yeah, I loved the honey. The honey scene was great.
Yeah,
that was so good.
He's in the series more, right?
Yeah.
I forgot.
They spent all their time there.
Yeah. I remembered that there was the market, but I forgot about him specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew she had to trade for something, but I couldn't. That's when I remembered about spiders.
Like I remembered that they went to it, but I didn't remember any of the characters or any of the things.
Yeah. And because I was trying to remember where Sean got his armor from, because I knew he didn't have that at the start.
From that werewolf that was happy that the alpha strain survived.
Yeah, well, he was one of the geneticists working on it.
Also, the couple interesting things with that. One, the werewolves being like sensitive souls and artists and
Yes.
things like that, and then having to defend against complete genocide. And then the other thing is their armor like manifesting as tattoos and stuff, and like tattoos on your neck when you're angry and things like that. That was really, really interesting and a cool visual. Like I was I was like, okay, all right, I like it.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Sean to come back in book 2.
Yes.
I know.
I can't wait to read book 2 tonight.
I love that for you, Megan.
I'm gonna
reread it.
I'm gonna read the one I bought tonight, and then like closer to the live show, I'll do the graphic, and that way I'll have
I think I'm gonna
spaced out. Because man, doing them back to back was a little weird. I think it was interesting, but it was weird.
Yeah.
Puppy.
I know. She's barking at peas.
Love that for you.
It's not constant. Just randomly, she decides that the cat needs to be barked at right this moment.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yep, nothing to worry about.
The suit was stressful for a minute. Like I was like worried, and then I was like, wait, no, we're in a romance. It's gonna be fine.
That's the other interesting thing about werewolves is that they have 3 different forms as well.
Oh yeah, I liked that though. I think that was a good way to do it. Like it made sense to me that a werewolf wouldn't just have like 2 forms.
It's the same way that the shifters are in Kate Daniels. The ones that are good, not all of them, right? You have to be able to have that warrior form or battle form or whatever it is they call it.
This one was the wet work form,
which
is more military.
Again, like they kind of do the same thing, but a little bit of a twist, a little different. Yeah. The fact that they can do so many magical worlds for their series and just not have them connected to each other blows my mind. Like they're their own thing, and that's wild.
Yeah, I agree.
But they all still take place in the South.
Yep. Listen, if Ilona Andrews is going to do one thing, it's like every single series takes place in Texas, I feel like.
Well, no, Kate took place in Atlanta.
Kate's Atlanta, but still, like...
I feel like they probably only write places they've lived, right?
I think so.
That's what I feel like they do.
I don't know. Did they live in Atlanta? I don't know if they did or not.
I mean, I don't know. I've just always kind of assumed.
Atlanta makes sense. Because I feel like they did because like having lived in Atlanta and in Savannah, like it felt like a good reflection of the place.
Right.
Having been to Houston,
it was accurate.
It felt accurate to me. Like I've been to Houston. It felt accurate. So.
Were the parents in Atlanta in the series?
No, I can't remember.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Look, all Ilona Andrews do is force me, as we learned the other day, force me to learn US geography to figure out where everything is in relation to everything else.
That's okay.
And my assumptions going, this is here. I'm like, no, it's really not.
I just fly around.
Wait, where did you think it was? Where did you think?
I don't. Well, I don't even know. Because here's the thing: I can't visualize things. So for me, it's like a weird abstract concept, and I'm like, okay, this is the South, so roughly this is where it is.
Yeah. Okay.
And then just looking at a map and going, particularly Kate going from Atlanta to Wilmington, and I'm like, where is this geographically located?
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I can see that though, because like, yeah, Wilmington's not as far as you might think.
I wouldn't be able to retain it even if like I looked up. So I literally just semi-ignore it.
I know the way they described where what is it? Deer Creek? The tiny town? Wherever they said it was, they were like, well, you should get lots of traffic because you're between like the Austin, Houston area, but you're also like 4 hours from Dallas. And I'm like, oh, I know where that is because I live in Texas and I've had to drive all through that. So I'm like, okay, I can guess where your tiny town is.
Right.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. And I've driven through a lot of Texas too. So I'm like, okay, this tracks.
Yeah.
I have driven from Dallas to Austin and San Antonio. So like I'm like, yep, okay.
Yeah.
You also know the plight of I-35, how terrible it is.
It's a good time. I don't ever drive. I just sit in the backseat. It's fine.
It's terrible. Anytime they mention how terrible it is, I'm like, yep, I agree. It is
I
terrible.
just-
It is always under construction.
Yeah. See, that's the type of thing that always makes me assume like they've lived here. They're talking
Well, that
about
was
it.
like they talked about the drive between Savannah and Atlanta, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, you've done this drive because it's a very weird drive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I think they
Yeah.
do that.
Like they do good Easter eggs for those of us that have like either like
Right.
me or freaks and have lived all over the United States, or
Yeah.
are just like from an area.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
How did you guys feel about the final conflict? I know spiders were the ick, but as
Yeah,
far as
spiders were the
the
ick.
vampire politics and
Hmm.
all of that, how did you feel about it?
I actually really liked the vampire politics
I thought that was
resolution.
interesting.
Yeah, I thought
Although
it was.
the way they settled the disagreement of like, all right, I'm just gonna murder you by biting your head off, essentially, was like
Yeah.
unexpected.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it because it leaned into the more animalistic side of vampire myths,
Mhm.
Right.
whereas they seem to have built themselves up as a cultured society that has
Right.
long held beliefs. But when it comes down to someone breaking an oath, essentially, or betraying their family,
And they talked about that quite a bit
Yeah.
too, about
Yeah.
how, you know, they're so strict and so polite and all of the things, but like
Yeah.
don't forget
But
that
then
they
at the
are
end of the day, they're still vampires.
Yeah.
and
there's
also
there's a reason that those myths exist.
Mhm.
right. Also about like vampires smiling and about how one vampires always flirt. Like they are just
Mhm.
flirts.
Yes.
And as an innkeeper's daughter, she was off limits. So, you know, it was harmless flirting, but it was also fun flirting because she was forbidden.
Mhm.
And that if they smile at you, they're, you know, if they're smiling at you from that distance, either they're going to kill you, like you're about to die, or their flirting is like, look at my fangs, look at what a amazing specimen I am.
Yeah. Which was fun. I like stuff. I really just enjoyed this book overall. Like as I was
Me
reading, I was just
too.
like, I'm happy about this. I'm so excited to
Right.
read the series. And that's just it. Yeah, I agree. The series is super cozy. And then this is where I said, like, I feel like if somebody wants a cozy, but they need like a little more bite to it, this is the
Haha, but bump.
this is the book.
So true.
I mean, I
Yeah.
like how they both fall into the series quite a bit.
Mhm.
I think the vampires in this are some of my favorite vampires that I've read
Yeah.
in paranormal books.
Mhm. I can see
I
that.
like
They're
I like
fun.
them.
Like I love how they're putting a twist on everything to do with paranormal in this.
Yeah,
So that's always fun, in my
it
opinion.
is very fun. Well, it's such a fun genre to play around in. If you don't
Mhm.
change, if you just stick within what's considered your typical paranormal, then eventually everything sounds the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they managed to make every single series unique. So I
Yeah.
don't know how they're doing it, but they are.
Two heads are
But
better
they
than one.
also retain the basics. So they aren't necessarily contradicting what you
Mhm.
know about those, right? But they're
Twisting it.
building on it, and that makes it very easy to pick up on, I feel like, and
Mhm.
also be like completely unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also true.
Yeah. I like I like both. Like I flip flop back and forth between Team Werewolf and Vampire. So yeah, the Twilight reference obviously killed me because it's my favorite. Not literally my favorite. I love when things reference Twilight. It cracks me up.
Yeah, I like references to it as well because some of them are done very, very well.
Also, how he specifically was like, look, I was doing research on the females of this planet. All right, well, he kissed her, so.
Mhm.
I'm so
I
excited.
need Sean to read a romance novel in one of the next books because the vampire told him to do research.
Funny.
Yes.
It'd be very
I
cute.
absolutely do not remember if that happens or not, but I didn't
doubt
remember
it.
about this either, so who knows?
But it would amuse me to know
Same.
it.
The books just need to appear in his room as Dina modifies it for him.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, like they're just randomly there. She's like, wait, what?
Exceeded.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about?
I covered all my notes.
I think we got
I read
everything
this
that I can think
right
of.
at the beginning of the month, so
My brain went to the Nalini Singh Angel series, but it probably wasn't that.
Oh, mine did too, though.
for what?
Did it?
The book he mentioned was like Human Women Love a book series about like falling in love with angels or something.
Oh, okay.
And I went to Guild Hunters immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Well,
I
that
read that
has
series,
angels
that's
and
not what it
vampires.
is.
Yeah.
No, I didn't make that connection.
That was the one that
I
I think
don't
really
know
caught
if
my
that was
brain.
actually the case, but that was 100% where my brain went.
I don't think that was the one that they were referring to, but yeah, no, that's where my brain went. But I think it's also because they mentioned another book. They mentioned like a historical at one point
Mhm.
from
Oh yeah, Caldania was reading wasn't Elizabeth Hoyt, was it? I can't remember.
it was something like that. Like it was an actual
Yeah, no, she got a new book, a new historical romance in that she was planning on reading when they did
Yeah.
when went into lockdown.
I think it was Eloisa James.
Oh no, that's right, it was Eloisa James.
That's funny.
But that's why when I was like, oh, okay, so we're having like these popular references,
Yeah.
it might
Mhm.
that's why my brain
More
was
of that.
losing.
I want more of that in my romances where they mention random other authors. That's cute.
Yeah, I always enjoy that.
Julie, I would like this.
That would also be very funny. I'm here for this.
Yes.
All right.
I did love the heart of the inn. The way they described it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the way the broom can transform into different weapons is interesting too.
Yeah.
And that she trained with it. She
Mhm.
had said, like,
Mhm.
just like in training, I have to like do these movements just like I practiced or whatever.
And also, at the end of the book, Gertrude Hunt goes up a half-star rating, and the vampires, the house, whatever his house is, any questions should be directed to
Yes.
her. And who else?
I think it was that the other innkeeper verified and said yes, it's a good inn or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was it the innkeeper? I was going to say somebody else said something good about it, but I can't think of the word that I want.
I think
Yeah,
it
I
was
liked
the
that.
vampires, and then when I guess like the committee went to ask about it, the like innkeeper backed them up and was like, yes.
No, it was Wilmos. It was the werewolf in
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
who was her.
Oh, okay.
So it was the vampires and the werewolf.
Oh, that's
Yes.
cool. I like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
It was so good. So fun.
Moving on up in the
And all
world.
I can I think this about all of their series, but this one would be so cool visually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it would make an awesome miniseries or something like that.
it would.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm dying for a Hidden Legacy adaptation. I think that's
Yeah.
the one that I want the most.
It would be incredible.
I think in terms of ones they could adapt easily, I think this is probably written because it was a serial released on their website. I think this hits the beats of a serial
I
show.
can see that too.
I can see
Not
this.
having read all of it, it's harder to be
Yeah.
like, yes, this one. But
I can also see this on like sci-fi because
Yeah.
it's even the vampires look like humans, just
Yeah.
bangs. The werewolves look like humans. Like everyone looks enough like a human except for like a couple creatures.
What the guy that the stalkers served, what'd he look like? Because I
Creepy.
don't remember.
Creepy.
Creepy.
Right, he was creepy. Also, was it him or was it the stalker that was like sitting in the tree watching her when she like
was
looked
him.
out? Yeah, that was
was
a creepy
him.
moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I
also, I
agree
was
that
like,
it was
why
horrified.
can you not like have the tree swallow him in?
Yeah.
No, but he was outside the grounds.
Yeah, he was.
He was deliberately outside the grounds, but close enough that he
That she
that
could
he
sense
set off
him.
the wards.
Also, it talked about how the field where the battlefield was is technically her property, right?
Hmm.
Or Gertrude Hunt isn't powerful enough. It needs more
Yeah.
guests and stuff in order to claim it. So
Mhm.
we also got the idea that it's going to expand in reach.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll be curious what we see like from this one like into the next one, how it like all interconnects, I guess, if that makes sense in a way. Because I think we had a lot of things laid down, but like how long, is it going to be in book 2 or is it book 3 things are going to pay off in certain ways, or
Right.
how long is it going
Right.
to take?
yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
I have to say the only reason I did not read this whole trilogy this month is because I'm like pacing it with the live shows.
Mhm.
Because I definitely wanted to just keep going.
I did too, and I was like, no, we're not going to do
Yep.
rereads right now.
So what you guys wanted, one book a month.
I know. It's the right decision.
It's the
but
easiest way to do it, but
Yeah, it
it's-
is.
there are
also,
moments.
I just feel like when it's a book a week or a couple books a week, like you're just really limiting the amount of people who want to participate but can do that pace on top of all their
This is
other
true.
things. Like it's more difficult.
I have other things to read. It's fine.
Right.
I'm putting those in instead of
Yeah.
just marathoning the series. It's
By
fine.
now we've had the live show.
That means-
So I mean,
Means
Now we're
we can
good. Now I
do
can keep going.
start of the
read
month,
it whenever I want.
end of the month reread.
Uh,
Yes, it did help that we had Magic Tides too.
Listen, I kept thinking, like, oh, I need to talk to them about scheduling the February live show because we forgot to do it during the live show. But we didn't because this is the live show. And the last one was Magic Tides, so we don't have another one.
Well, I'm assuming last weekend of the month, unless people have clashes.
Yeah. The only thing is, I was going to talk to you, Steph. The only thing is, because I think we're supposed to do the journaling and the Innkeepers, and I wasn't sure if you like would have time for 2 in the same weekend or not, so we might have to change
Oh, yeah.
one of it.
Yeah. Depending on which weekend it is. Because yes.
Okay.
Look,
That's easy
let's be real. I'm going to need weekends where I have reasons not to leave my apartment at all, for any reason.
It's too hot now, so you don't want to leave the apartment, right?
Well, yeah, like this is now our February is our hottest month of the year.
Yeah.
So,
And we're entering our like full blown winter months.
I was like,
here,
February is
so-
our coldest month.
Yeah.
so
Yep.
time to stay inside.
Amen.
Well, we're doing the same. Just, opposite temperatures.
Mhm.
Oh, you should definitely read the new Kate Daniels. Keep calm with
Read
books and coffee. I don't know your first name. Sorry. You should definitely read it. Like,
It's Julie. Yeah.
if you've read the whole Kate Daniels series, read it.
It will bring you so much joy.
You will be so happy.
It was delightful.
And
Yeah,
I'll just keep bugging Izzy, and when she starts reading the rest of Kate Daniels, I'll reread it then.
Well, okay, we have to talk later, Steph, because we got to make choices here on which series I'm reading through first. If I'm finishing Kate Daniels, or am I finishing the Nalani Singh stuff?
Kate
Well,
Daniels.
I'll read either.
My
of
vote's
them.
Kate Daniels.
I know, but
No one
Nalani, I
cares
have
about
less
the other
books.
one. Read Kate Daniels.
I might try to get through Guild Hunters again at some point this year, but right now is not that time.
I'm less
5.
inclined to reread Guild Hunters. There are things I'd reread in Psy Changeling without question. But
Yeah,
Guild
I got
Hunters,
3 of them.
yeah, but Guild Hunters has more. There's more of a series plot line through it that I think is harder to pick up on than Side Changeling if you read them independently of not like if you don't start from the start of the series.
I
So,
love Side Changeling so much.
Yeah, well, there's that.
So good.
GCCC.
I did see this.
I didn't.
That's
see that.
exciting. Okay, that makes me excited. Because I'm literally like halfway through the series. So
the Night Hunters series from Janine Frost is also getting graphics. Their first one got one already, and the second one is coming out soon.
Oh, I loved that series back in the day.
So I'm gonna have to go find that graphic for the first one because Bones Forever.
I remember that book. They like the first book, they have anal sex, I think it is, or the second book. And I was like so thrown because none of the books I'd previously read ever had it. And it just like so casually was there. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So I feel like that was my journey to like all the weirdness.
That's hilarious.
I do love that series. I think it was my first like long paranormal series that I read.
Yeah.
I read the spin-off series first and then tried to read the first series and didn't like it as much and didn't make it through.
I really like the spinoff with the vampire guy. I need to finish that one.
I haven't started that one.
It was good, but also I read it a long time ago, so you know.
All right. Well, should we wrap this one up?
Probably need to.
Yeah. So
we're going off to other series now.
Yeah. We can go off on tangents. We probably shouldn't. We will sort out the dates and we'll probably post it an announcement on Instagram, and I'll do it in my announcements on YouTube as well. Whatever the community. That's what it's called. Words.
Right. It will either be the 17th, 18th, or 24th, 25th. Like it will be one of those Fridays or Saturdays of the last 2 weekends. It will definitely be one of those.
I'll have the date in my February reset because we'll decide on it probably before I film that here.
Yeah.
So.
I guess because you're sensible. You're filming that closer to February than I filmed mine.
Yes, I will film it this weekend. So.
Yeah.
Fun.
Oh, good.
So hopefully, I would think this weekend we'll know.
Yeah.
/ we're probably about to get off air and go pick.
What all did you guys rate it before we sign off? Because we didn't.
5 stars.
5 stars.
I give it 5 stars.
Yeah. Easy. It's not even a question for me.
It's just so good. Honestly, I liked it so much more than I even remembered liking it. So I was just
same. I rated it 4 stars the first time I read it, and this time I gave it 5 because I loved it.
Yeah, me too.
I think we talked about it the other day. I think their books get better every time you reread them.
I agree.
I can see that.
You just like the first time you read through, like there's a lot of stuff that happens in this book, and it's not a long book. Right. It's actually relatively short, and there's so much world building that happens. I think every time you come back to it, you go, "Oh no, hang on."
And it feels like almost a really quiet book. It doesn't really feel like, crazy action is going off all around you.
So I feel like, we talked for an hour, but I didn't feel like there was actually that much to talk about in the book by the time I finished it. I was like, this is fine. This was great. This felt like cozy, paranormal, urban fantasy, sci-fi, throw it in a pot,
Right. Yeah. It feels kind of quiet and cozy, and then you start unpacking it and you're like, okay, there was quite a bit here, really.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But yeah, same.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone who joined us and who chatted to us about it. I know
very much
some of us will be going and reading the next one straight away.
This weekend is happening.
I'm currently in between books, so I could pick it up.
I'm gonna try to wait until tomorrow.
I'm gonna read the Tapas comic between now and our next live is my goal.
I like that.
We're all going to read the prequel story on the website.
Someone is going to yell at me at some point in the next week to go read that. Yep, please and thank you, because I will forget.
Someone will yell at me.
That's the plan.
Okay, thank you. Megan, you understand.
I do
It's
understand
gonna leave our room
completely.
in 10 minutes. It's fine. It's fine. I have to request being fussed at to go read it.
Yes.
It's okay. We'll remind you.
I got another like stripe on my blanket while we were talking, so
Nice. I always just feel that being like somebody has to remind me because I will forget repeatedly.
It's all good.
Oh,
All right.
finish Hidden Legacy.
yes. Finish it
Good.
in Legacy. It's so good.
That is a good life
It's
choice.
so good.
Such a good life choice.
So good.
All right. We'll wrap this up. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a good night. I think most people are overseas. Stay nice and warm. Bye.